my friends, and welcome back to Unreal Life. We've got another FLAST review, and this time we're looking at the issue of are you a de facto? Are you friends with benefits? Are you a girlfriend? Some of the times it's not that clear, and when the relationship ends, that's when you find out, what the real intentions of the parties might be. This case here we'll have a look at today. The parties are in dispute over the declaration of a de facto relationship. And in this case here, the applicant seeks orders adjusting the property interests. The applicant, of course, is the young lady, and the respondent seeks a dismissal of the application and declarations that the parties were never in a de facto relationship. So how could there be such a difference of opinion? The court, in resolving this dispute, assessed how the parties in a relationship as a couple were living together on a genuine domestic basis. So let's just have a look down here. The facts of the case. Miss Bahan, the applicant, filed an initiating application seeking final orders for adjustment of property interests with Mr. Pinder, who's the respondent. The application sought to invoke the court's jurisdiction pursuant to Part 8A-B of the Family Law Act, which concerns financial matters relating to de facto relationships. So on the 10th of August last year, the respondent filed a response to the initiating application seeking a declaration that the applicant and the respondent were never in a de facto relationship. And consequently, he's looking for a dismissal of the actual application. The applicant's case is that she and the respondent were in a de facto relationship within the meaning of Section 4AA of the Act. And so the court has jurisdiction to make orders for the adjustment of property interests as sought by her. Okay, so let's have a look at Section 4AA. And what 4AA says is de facto relationships. So a person is in a de facto relationship with another if they're not married and they're not related, and having regard to all the circumstances of the relationship, they have a relationship as a couple living together on a genuine domestic basis. So working out if persons have a relationship as a couple, the circumstances may include any of the following, or all of them: the duration of the relationship, the nature and extent of their common residence, whether a sexual relationship exists, the degree of financial independence, ownership, use and acquisition of property, the degree of mutual commitment, whether the relationship was registered, whether there was kids involved, and the reputation and public aspects of the relationship. Well, let's go back to the case for a minute, or the digest here, and we'll see that the applicant contends that she is a de facto wife, as the parties continually cohabited at various residences over 6 years. They maintained a sexual relationship. They were in paid employment. The respondent earned more and financially supported the applicant. There was a degree of financial interdependence, is what she's arguing here, in that they shared expenses such as groceries. She paid for the electricity bill every now and then, or they shared it, and the expenses relating to the animals. So they had pets, and they shared the cost of those pets. They were committed to a shared life together, she argues, presented publicly as a couple, and would socialize together, including with each other's families and friends. In the respondent's case, he and the applicant were in a casual boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Casual. So he's sort of suggesting there's friends with benefits. Apart from the period of August 2016 to October 2016, for that short interval during which they lived together on a genuine basis, he contends that the parties retained their own residences. Save for the period of that time of August to October, the parties had sporadic, non-exclusive sexual relationship and were in relationship with other people. The parties were financially independent, earning their own income and paying their own expenses, and there was no mutual commitment to a shared life. And he argues it never carried with it public aspects of reputations. So we're going back here, and he's saying that didn't happen. There was no public aspect of their relationship, and that is his defense there. So the court has to answer whether or not the parties were in a de facto relationship. That is under Section 4AA. And there's a little bit of case law about this type of thing. So Crowley and Pappas, a 2013 case, provided that a de facto relationship does not need to be akin to a marriage, although the nature of the association involved in a marriage may be instructive. In Dahl and Hamblin, that relied upon the holding that two brief separations during which they remained living in the same place does not prevent the conclusion that the parties were in a de facto relationship. Jonah and White provided that the key to that definition, de facto relationship, is the manifestation of a relationship where the parties have so merged their lives that they were all, for all practical purposes, living together as a couple on a genuine domestic basis. And in the case of Thompson and McLaren, this is a 2021 case, so fairly recent, and where the fact-finding required is somewhat complicated when the parties have different perceptions, and their perceptions may be motivated by a desire to achieve particular outcomes. So the court recognizes that, the perceptions of the parties might be different based on what outcome they want to achieve. Somewhat like in this case, I guess. Sinclair and Whitaker provides that whether a de facto relationship existed, if so, when it commenced and ended, is a matter for determination on the facts, although perceptions of the parties may be relevant to it. So, it's the court will look at the facts of the case, not so much what you say the facts were, but what they actually were, what your opinion of the relationship, whether you say you were friends with benefits or just a casual relationship or just a girlfriend and not living together as a de facto couple is irrelevant. What's relevant is what the facts actually show and what evidence the young lady in this case can provide. The substance of the applicant's evidence was that she commenced her relationship with the respondent in 2012, and they began cohabiting as a couple in April of 2013. She says that they lived sometimes at her family home and at other times at the respondent's parents' home. So how she's explained that the extent of them living together, I guess, is something that we can have a look at in the actual judgment itself, which we'll have a look at in a minute. The applicant said that in 2014, the respondent moved into her father's property on a permanent basis and did not pay rent or contribute to utilities such as electricity bill or food. So the applicant gave evidence that the respondent commenced fly-in, fly-out FIFO work in Queensland in about 2014. The applicant agreed that the parties always had separate bank accounts but maintained they shared day-to-day expenses. So that's coming back to the groceries and looking after the pets. If you buy groceries together, you cook your dinners together, you have pets that you look after together, then that's all leaning towards looking like a de facto relationship. the respondent paid for some of the applicant's personal expenses. So, he has given her money for her expenses when she was not able to afford these, and the applicant lived in B Street Town C property, making very modest contribution to the outgoings related to the property right up until 2019. So she's claiming to live at the property and making very modest contributions, so small contributions to the outgoings related to the property. So outgoings, I'm not sure what that might mean there. Is she paying the rates or water bills or something like that? We'll have a look at the judgment and see if there's any clues. There was evidence of payments to and from the parties' bank accounts, and there appears to be continued after the time the respondent alleges that the parties were separated. So there was money going back and forth between their accounts. The applicant was very open and unreserved in answering her questions put to her, conceding matters when they were contrary to her case. So there was even, findings that were contrary to her case, and she conceded those, and yet the court still has considered this case in her favour. The court ordered the declaration that the parties were in a de facto relationship between 2014 and 2019 for a period of at least 4 years and 6 months, pursuant to Section 90 RD2. So if we go back into the Act here, we're at Section 4.4. We go to the table of provisions here. RD, declarations about the existence of a de facto relationship. RD2, a declaration under subsection 1 of the existence of a de facto relationship may also declare any and all of the following: the period, whether there was a child. So it's basically, that's just the power of the court to make the declaration. Okay. And by contrast, the respondent was at times quite hesitant in answering questions. So this is where, the court has looked at his answers and the way he's answered the questions, and based on that, he's lost credibility with the court. He was quite hesitant in answering questions, and his answers under cross-examination were guarded and appeared rehearsed. So it wasn't coming out naturally like it was with, the way she was delivering her evidence. The most obvious obvious example was when questioned by the court as to the apparent continuity of the features common of a de facto relationship after the period of time at which he asserted there was a separation in 2016. The respondent was unable to answer for a very lengthy period of time. So that's all counted against him. Decision is in, and it is against him. If we have a look at the judgment now and see if there's any clues that we're going to get in here. Okay, let's have a look at the evidence here, the opposing cases. So the lady's evidence is that they continue to cohabit in various residences for over 6 years. They maintained a sexual relationship, and there was a degree of financial interdependence, citing things like shared expenses, groceries, electricity bill, and expenses relating to the animals. So, it's important to realize here that, when you're in a relationship, that it's clear for the parties what the nature of that relationship is. If you're going to claim she is just a girlfriend, a little bit of, fun on the side, which is what essentially this guy is claiming, that they just maintained some sort of a friends with benefits, scenario. There shouldn't be this kind of these kind of indicators of a relationship where there's a financial interdependence, there's groceries being paid, electricity bills paid, you're looking after each other's animals. Um, the applicant would refer work to the respondent. Again, it's sort of indicating that there's a closeness there. And the applicant's father assisted the respondent in purchase of a property. I mean, that's a pretty big thing, don't you think? If the girl's father helps the boy buy a property, then you know why would he do that if unless he thought that she was in a relationship with him? The parties jointly sought restraining orders against Mr. D. And Mr. D, you'll see in a moment, is the guy that she had a sexual relationship with. And then the respondent got angry. He ended up assaulting Mr. D, and they jointly sought restraining orders against him. And the applicant undertook domestic duties for the parties. So that's her argument. He's sort of saying in the green here that they retained their own residences, that they had a sporadic, non-exclusive sexual relationship, and each were in relationships with other people. So again, he's there really sort of trying to suggest that there was nothing serious going on here, with no mutual commitment to a shared life, and the relationship never carried with it public aspects. They didn't go out in public together. So that's what he's sort of trying to suggest. If we have a look at the testimony in the evidence of the girl, during the relationship, she provided a greater amount of household and domestic duties. She was feeding the animals, cooking, cleaning, washing her clothes and his clothes, including his work wear, and he would hang his clothes in the line, dry, vacuum, clean the dishes, household duties. So not consistent with someone who is just there for a quickie, and there's nothing going on here. This is a long-term relationship that you have to remember. This has been going since 2013, 2014 is the time it started, and all the way up to 2019, with her picking the respondent up from the airport and driving him back when he departed. Remember, he was doing this FIFO work, so flying in and out for a month at a time, and then coming back for a week or so for rest. So, his argument is he's going to come back for a week or so for rest, hook up with her, and there was nothing serious going on. Her argument is that they're in a committed relationship. So the whole the relationship itself is sort of taking shape here as being more than just a girlfriend situation, which is what he keeps saying, that she's just a girlfriend, that there was nothing serious going on, that they did not purchase joint property, didn't incur liabilities, except for a credit card, which he provided to her in her name, which he was responsible for paying. So why would you do that if you're not in a relationship? He claims he didn't give her money, he loaned it to her, which explains the money going in and out of their joint bank accounts. And during the relationship period, the applicant would stay with him at his parents' houses. So, when they got together, he was still living in between his parents' houses by the look of things. Her father helps him buy a house. And, he's suggesting that this is not a long-term commitment or a long-term committed relationship. It's very hard to see how he can justify that here. He's talking about his time away from work, but that doesn't really count. The fact that he goes away to work on a FIFO thing and then comes back home and hooks up with her, that's again pointing to a relationship here. All the references, so basically here, she went into hospital in April of 2017, and under hospital records, he was the partner and boyfriend. When she was discharged from hospital, discharged home with the partner. In criminal proceedings against Mr. D, the guy he assaulted, who they ended up getting restraining orders against. He's referred to as the respondent's partner. He kept saying in court that she was just a girlfriend, and when asked, girlfriend, how is it different from partner, his response was he just wasn't sure. Yeah, I bet he wasn't sure, because all the indicators here are pointing to him being a partner, including statutory declarations in support of the restraining orders against Mr. D, where he's called himself the partner. So the applicant's father helps him buy a property, and the whole relationship itself is looking like it is a long-term relationship that has continued for a number of years. And despite the fact that he was going in and out of town with his FIFO work, if they'd been married, the same thing would have occurred. There wouldn't be anything different that occurred, or much different anyway. So you can really see why the court has given this sort of a judgment here in favour of the girl here, and rightly so. He shouldn't have been there, trying to have a relationship of convenience for him, and thinking that that she would just be there for him when he needed her, and then when they break up, all the indicators are that there was a relationship, in fact, indeed. So at this point in time, what I'm after is your thoughts. What do you think? Did the judge get it right? Were they in a de facto relationship? The facts here are on the record, and it seems pretty clear cut to me. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that summary, and you've learnt a little bit about de facto relationships and the difference between a girlfriend and a friend with benefit, and how easily it can be confused, and how easily the guy or the girl might think that there's nothing going on here and we're just having a bit of fun, and all of a sudden when one of the parties separate, and one of them makes a claim on property, you can see exactly why that can occur here. And that's what happened in this case. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. What do you think of the facts of this case? Was it a de facto relationship? And if you like this video and you'd like to see more of them, I need a bit of encouragement from you guys, because these videos take a lot of time and effort to produce. So click on the like button. If you know anyone in a de facto, share the video. Subscribe to the news feed, so as I issue new ones, you're going to get that notification. So hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.